Jesse Hill's Random Survival Tips on the Ruffleberry Plumcake channel. Now, big shout out to BayX on YouTube for commenting down below on my last episode on spam. He said that I should do an episode over condoms. Now, I don't have a condom on me right now, but I can advocate for latex products. What I can do is tell you some little tips on what you could do, provided you have a latex product like a condom or a glove. That being said, let's get into it. Now, everyone knows that latex is a waterproof material used for many different things, such as sexual intercourse, protecting the hands during surgeons, wearing gloves, and all sorts of things like that. It's also a water-resistant liner, which is going to be my first topic. Now, latex can be made from just about anything, such as these bowls that I bought from Walmart, which can contain water and stuff like that, which they won't leak, and things like condoms and gloves. That being said, I had some surgery gloves readily available, which are similar without the lubricant. That being said, they asked, what can you do with a condom or some sort of latex covering? Well, for one, you could use it as a minor flotation device. Let's say you go fishing and you need a bobber to indicate that something is caught on your thing. Well, by simply blowing up said condom or glove, like so, and sealing off the air, you have an effective bobber. Attaching that to the line, if you have anything to fish with, if something nibbles, it pulls the glove a little bit underwater and you know when to pull it in. Another thing to do is if you have, like, let's say a box of condoms, about 12 or so, or a box full of gloves, for that instance, you can blow them up with air and use them as a minor flotation device depending on what you're carrying. Let's say you have some knives or a weapon that can't go underwater. Well, by simply placing it on these and blowing them all up and tying them off and attaching them to the gun, you can effectively make the gun or some of your luggage float a little bit. That being said, these are not exactly foolproof flotation devices, neither is a condom or glove for that matter, but it's something to give you a little bit of ease of mind. So, I mean, considering that, they can be used as a flotation device. Also, they can be used as a filter. Now, taking sand and charcoal and placing it inside and possibly cutting the reservoir tip of a condom or the fingertip of one of your glove pieces, such as the middle finger or so, you could effectively filter the water out and cause the water to come down through gravity. As you know, gravity filters work like so. That being said, another thing you could do is use them as a water carrying container. While I wouldn't necessarily like carrying water in a condom or one of these gloves because it gives it a foul taste, it does definitely act as a nice, effective water bladder. It's light, you can reuse it as many times as long as you don't puncture it, and it can float even before after putting water on it. So that's another good idea. And this works for balloons too, because they're made of a similar material. Another thing they could be used for, such as a condom, is for intercourse. In a survival situation, you definitely don't want to get a woman pregnant, especially when you have an indeterminate amount of time, such as a couple years or months. So you could use the condom as protection. But I've seen people and heard of people using rubber gloves for the same exact thing. That being said, you might want to stick with abstinence as the safest course of action when surviving with a female or with the same-sex partner if you're into that. That being said, these are good. These are very useful for that kind of stuff, although I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. Another thing you could do with these is contain food. Now, let's say you make a soup or something like that, and you're like, crap, I don't have a bowl or, a cup like this. Well, have no fear. You have this, and you could kind of seal it off and carry around a couple gloves of food if you had too much. Again, this isn't a foolproof strategy, but it's something you can use. And they work as good containers. The flavor might be skewed from the latex flavor, but if you're allergic, I strongly recommend you don't do that due to contamination, especially for drinking. But another thing you could do is you could take a Y-shaped stick and you can create a catapult, or what is known as commonly as a slingshot. Using these rubber elastics is definitely something very useful because they're able to stretch. By simply attaching it to two things, you get that snapping effect. That being said, this isn't exactly foolproof because if condoms fail during intercourse or rubber gloves like this tear by simply putting your hand in, there's no guarantee that they will last forever, but it makes for a good jerry-rig style weapon for defense. Well guys, these are just a couple things that I was able to list off on this episode, which is latex, condoms, and or gloves. Guys, thank you very much for stopping by. And remember, if you guys have a comment, something I missed, please leave it down below for your fellow survivalists to educate all of us. And a big shout out to BayX for giving me the idea of condoms and or rubber gloves. Have a nice day, and thanks for stopping by.